Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Spurs Up Show, best Gamecocks podcast on the internet. Today is Tuesday, September the 14th, 2021. Today's show, former Gamecocks football player Alex McGrath joins me. He does each and every single Tuesday to help break down South Carolina's 20-17 victory over the East Carolina Pirates over the weekend, as well as look ahead to the upcoming weekend between the hedges as the Gamecocks begin SEC play against the Georgia Bulldogs. Guys, all that, much more. Got a packed show here on a Tuesday, and it's all brought to you by our friends over at Upstate Movers Group. Guys, Upstate Movers Group, superior moving service. They bring care and attention their companies can't offer because they're just too busy maintaining trucks and profiting off of them instead of focusing on service. Guys, service is what separates Upstate Movers Group from the competition. They're not a trucking company. They're a moving services company, and they're also employee-owned co-op. The movers are paid twice the industry average, and everyone on the crew is invested in your success. They have dedicated professional crew members, and they also offer black glove service. They offer end-to-end packing services, custom crating and packaging special items, and cleaning services as well. They're founded by Greenville natives and University of South Carolina alumni, guys, so a Gamecock-owned small business. They also offer 20 years of project management moving experience, and they can offer logistics and solutions that traditional moving companies simply do not have the skills for. Guys, whether in the upstate or across the state of South Carolina, if you have any moving needs in 2021, be sure to check out our friends over at Upstate Movers Group. You can find them on social media at Upstate Movers Group. Or, of course, if you have any other questions, go to their website, upstatemoversgroup.com. That's upstatemoversgroup.com. Be sure to check them out and tell them Chris from the Spurs Up Show sent you. Let's get it. All right, joining us today, he does each and every single Tuesday, former Gamecocks football player Alex McGrath. Alex is going to help me break down what was a wild, and that is putting it lightly, a wild Saturday in Greenville, North Carolina. The Gamecocks are able to squeak out a 20-17 win to, most importantly, improve to 2-0 early in the 2021 football season. But first things first, Alex, appreciate you taking the time. How was your weekend? I know you played in the member guest. How'd you hit them on Saturday, by the way?
I did, I hit the driver well. The rest of the game seemed to fall apart later in the day, mostly maybe because I was trying to stream a football game inside the golf cart, which probably wasn't the greatest strategy for what we were trying to do. But, we had a good time, and it was a lovely weekend to be outside because that fall weather seems to be finally coming around.
Yeah, dude, I love it. I love it. It's crazy. The past couple of weekends, we've gotten really, really lucky. And I know now it's announced South Carolina, Kentucky, a night game at Williams-Brice in just, 13 days or so. So hopefully, or 12 days, hopefully the weather will abide for that one as well, because it's going to be a really good time. But I want to start, Alex, let's just go ahead and jump right into it. I want to start offensively. I know the conversation is around the quarterback position, but here's my question to you, because we talked about this last week, right? I think you and I both gave the benefit of the doubt. Hey, it's week one. People are rusty, like brand new system, brand new scheme, whatever. But the Gamecocks ran 2.8 yards per carry on Saturday against East Carolina. And we talked about all week, that's your advantage in the trenches. You're bigger, you're more physical, you have SEC athletes. And we're talking about an ECU defense, Alex, that gave up 226 rushing yards to Appalachian State and average surrendering 201 yards per game on the ground in their 2020 season. Are you concerned yet about the South Carolina offensive line? Like, what's your concern level right now? Because there were times, especially in that first half, where it feels like you got pushed around. And again, this is not a defensive front for ECU that has pushed anybody around in the last year plus.
We're going to need to see some rapid improvement out of that group, I feel like, in the next 4 days to have any kind of a chance this weekend. I wish I had a better explanation for it, because you got a ton of experience on that line. So I think it has to fall back on a new scheme to some degree. Outside of that, I don't really know. I don't, because you look at what Kevin Harris was able to accomplish last year And a lot of those same guys are standing there.
Four of those five guys, over 80 career starts.
Yeah, those same guys are standing there now. So it's got to be a situation where it's just not gelling with the scheme at this point, and hopefully that's something that can get worked out this week because they're going to need to be better than they have been.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, man. Like I said, it's hard to come up with an explanation because, again, after week one, gave the benefit of the doubt. You know what? It's week one. I think we'll make a major improvement. We'll run the football. It was very hard to run the ball again, and you start to say, "Oh boy, if this offensive line can't get it together, and this is supposed to be the strength of your football team." And again, like you said, there's just no explanation because these guys are all experienced, they all play together, and they all paved the way for what Kevin Harris did last season. And again, I guess that's maybe the thing that can give you some confidence as you're like, you know what? They've done it before, so at least we have that to hang our hat on. Speaking of the offensive line, though, and their struggles, moving to quarterback, Alex, what it even confirms more so to me, I'll tell you this. I think the Zeb Noland for Heisman campaign that never really got off the ground anyways, but for those that were saying that last week, I think that's officially over and dead. Especially, though, if your offensive line can't be any better than they are. I mean, I think Zeb Noland was sacked 4 times on Saturday, and you and I were talking off air. Very Colin Hill-esque. And that's no knock on Colin Hill or Zeb Noland, by the way. But when it comes to skill set, very, very similar. We saw a lot of the problems, or at least I thought I did, Alex, of problems we had last year in that game on Saturday, and you couldn't run the football. I mean, I would assume you can be as quick as you want with this answer, but no question in your mind, Luke Doty's QB1 for this football team, the best option. Because I think especially if you got those offensive line struggles, you're just, especially when you're looking ahead, and we're going to talk more about that Georgia game, you're going to have a guy that can escape, get out of the pocket, be dynamic, like we said last week. Zeb Noland's story has been great, but this is Luke Doty's football team.
It is. And you know, going back to what we were talking about last week, I think it has been the entire time until that, you know, foot injury rears its ugly head. So, you know, it just comes back to what we were talking about last week. You know, if he's not 100%, he's not going to play. And I think that's, you know, the assessment all the coaches made before that game kicked off was he's not 100%. So we don't want to put him out there, re-aggravate this thing, re-injure it. So let's go with Zeb and do the best we can. And, you know, a little bit stiffer competition this week. So we found out a lot more about the football team as we thought we were going to. And, you know, unfortunately that revealed that those offensive line concerns may be more valid than we wanted them to be. But, you know, yeah, but Luke Doty's definitely number one and should be going forward if he can play.
Yeah, no question. Now, I would say, Alex, the bright spot certainly from Saturday's game is the defense. You know, we spend so much time talking offense and their shortcomings, and of course, it's fun to talk quarterbacks. But Clayton White's unit, man, what they're doing right now is incredible. You know, obviously, you get the game-changing pick 6 before halftime. That really, I really believe, Alex, that's one of those plays that if South Carolina does go on to win 6, let's say God forbid 7 games, I mean, you really look at that moment and say that's where it all shifted because South Carolina was dead in the water there, 14-0. If ECU just sits on it, you're going into halftime. They have all the momentum. All of a sudden, you get the pick 6 from Damani Staley. Second straight week, you've had a pick 6. But you get that 14-7. You're getting the ball after half. All of a sudden, you can kind of feel the juice get back in that football team. But South Carolina, I didn't know if you knew this, Alex, held East Carolina to just 2 of 16 on third down. And the Gamecocks have only allowed 2 third-down conversions in their first 2 games, which is best in the country. This defense ranks 4th in the country right now. And again, I don't want to get carried away too much because level of competition. You have to take that into account. But if nothing else, to me, it almost goes beyond the statistics, Alex. It's more the way those guys played on Saturday, flying around, especially in the secondary. I feel like fundamentally we just look so much better. The tackling, which, you know, I won't even get into just how maddening it is to think about then and now. But how impressed have you been? Have you been surprised? I thought ECU would be able to have a little bit of success on us, but Clayton White's unit, I mean, really tip the cap to him. Those guys have done a phenomenal job thus far.
No, they really have. They're playing lights out football right now. And, you know, am I surprised? Kind of. I'm surprised with like how well like the second level players have played thus far. I mean, where all of that's going to start is up front on your D line, right? And we knew that was going to be the strength of this defense going into this season. And so you play EIU, you know, we're going to push their offensive line around, and they pushed around ECU's offensive line, and, you know, are forcing turnovers. I mean, really, if you take that, you know, opening trick play out of the equation, you know, past that, they give up less than 200 yards through essentially four quarters. 2 of 16 on third down, pick six for the second week in a row. I mean, there's some players out there on defense, and it's very encouraging to see that this early in the season to me, just because based on what we saw, because that was one of the things we talked about in the preview pod was like, is it possible that this defense could be worse than what it was last year? And the answer to that so far is just a resounding no.
Yeah,
which is incredibly encouraging.
Yeah, incredibly encouraging and incredibly speaks volumes, very loud volumes to the shortcomings of we don't have to get into that, but either way. So yeah, Parker White hits the game winner though. Gamecocks, the 20-17 win. And I was joking with you off here, Alex, of course, that, I had a little bit of fun with fans on social media who made me feel like I was a lunatic for picking a 4-point game or insinuating that this in any way will be a close game. And everybody was telling me how the Gamecocks are going to blow out ECU. Either way, though, who cares? You got the win. And I look at this, Alex, my biggest takeaway is this, and I don't want to put too much stock in a week 2 win, the second all-time game of Shane Beamer's tenure over East Carolina. But to me, it's one of those games and one of those wins. It's a character win. Like, you had every reason to lose the football game. I'm sure you saw some of the officiating blunders, which absolutely just a few. Just a few. Just a few. The officiating blunders, the home cooking, the turnovers. I mean, everything it felt like that could go wrong did go wrong on Saturday, and you still found a way to win. And I preached all preseason, Alex, that what I was most excited for is it's easy to be positive when you're doing the welcome home tour. And it's easy to be positive and optimistic when you're in talking season. It's the honeymoon phase and all that. But I wanted to see this football team face adversity, and that would tell me how they responded to it would tell me more what I needed to know in regards to the culture and it changing at South Carolina. I think if nothing else, are there holes and deficiencies with this football team? 110%, but a win on Saturday and the way you did it, I don't know, Alex, it tells me as a fan, the culture and things are changing for the better in that building.
I'll put it to you in a different way. Do you think the 2018 and 2019, 2020 version of this football team would have won that game?
A resounding no, I think, from the masses is what you would be hearing.
Yeah, but then that is the biggest takeaway to me from all this. I mean, look, you had a trick play on the first play of the game, go for 6. All right. So you're immediately down 7-0. All right. You get, Josh Vann played a heck of a game, but he fumbles going over the goal line to tie it up. All right. Now you're still down. They put one in, then all of a sudden you get a pick 6, and that momentum is, back in the building and back on your sidelines, and you're able to push that momentum forward to rally yourselves to kick a field goal to win it as time expires. So, looking at, the last 3 iterations of this team, I don't think that's a win that those teams would have gotten. And I think that's why I'm more encouraged than not by what I saw Saturday.
Yeah, I think certainly it opens the door up for your season. It was one that, again, I know fans sort of scoffed and they were like, Chris, come on, how big of a game can it be? But I really feel like, and maybe this is a little harsh, but if you would have lost that football game, would have kind of derailed your season early. It would have been one of those just really tough to stomach type of L's. But the bottom line is this: you won the football game. Now getting to 6 wins, getting to a bowl game in Shane Beamer's first year, that is something that is still open to possibility. And again, I'm excited to see what happens the rest of the way, but it was just one you had to have. And again, I thought the way they did it obviously was incredible. And it's one you had to have too, because of what's upcoming next. Well, you had a fun first couple weeks, non-conference, whatever, picked on some lesser opponents, if you will, but shit's about to get real, Alex. There's no other way to put it, with the Georgia Bulldogs upcoming this weekend. And again, I first want to get from someone, again, of course, you played at South Carolina, you went to Athens, you were a part of some teams, some battles, some matchups with the Georgia Bulldogs. What will South Carolina's players be going through in a night game in Athens?
You mean other than the buzzsaw that is the Georgia defense?
Other than the buzzsaw, yes.
It's going to be raucous. They're going to be, you take the buses down, stay in the hotel. It's a night game, so you're going to sit around the hotel all day, do meetings. Probably do a couple of walkthroughs in the ballroom, breakfast, lunch. Everybody's on the bus. You go to the stadium. Like going into that environment, seeing the tailgates sitting out there now that wouldn't have been there a year ago. Just that fan excitement and enthusiasm that's coming in, and that place gets pretty loud. And this is a great like cross-border rivalry. So, there's going to be a ton of butterflies, but those are going to come out pretty quick when the hits start flying.
Now, Alex, with that being said, of course, you're talking on the field between the white lines. That's where this football game will be played. And, call it for what it is. The Gamecocks opened up as a 32-point underdog. Over-under, as you and I talked off air, at 47. So Vegas certainly not expecting a high-scoring game and against the Georgia defense that ranks number one in the country.
At least not from one of us.
At least not from one of the teams. I know a lot of fans will cling to 2019 and what happened. Hey, South Carolina was a 24.5. I remember very vividly, 24.5-point underdog in that one. You go to Athens, obviously the Israel McClamu 3-interception game, a pick six, and you find a way to pull off what I would still argue, Alex, is probably the greatest upset in school history, just in sheer, what the odds were and stacked against you and all that. One of the greatest, if nothing else. I'll first ask you this. Your expectations for Saturday, because I don't want to tell fans, hey, you should just be going into Saturday, being happy to be blown out, or you shouldn't expect your team to try to go out there and get a win. But realistically, what do you want to see from this football team? Because it's no secret. South Carolina's not on Georgia's level right now. They need to recruit and stack recruiting classes. And again, I told you this off air, Alex, and I would tell anybody listening, keep expectations realistic because Shane Beamer's a football coach. He's not a miracle worker. So don't expect him to perform miracles. With that being said, though, certainly good can come out of Saturday, and we've seen some wacky things happen in this South Carolina Georgia series. What do you most want to see from the game Saturday in Athens?
I would say I would start with progression. Like if you can show more of a fight on the offensive line, like even if you're running for 3.5 a carry or 4 a carry against that kind of opponent, that's big, weeks down the line, because now you've done that you've improved against a much better opponent. From the receiver standpoint, let those guys continue to get better, continue to get Josh Vann the ball, continue to get Jaheim Bell the ball, get those guys more involved, especially if Luke's back there playing, continue to work through those passing progressions, because more than likely you're going to find yourself down at some point and you're going to have to throw the ball to get yourselves back in it. Love to see some special teams razzle dazzle. I'm sure Coach Beamer has got some things earmarked that he would love to unleash down in Athens. So we'll see about that. And then, from the defensive side, defensive line's been fabulous so far. I'd love to see them keep that up. And again, just that progression in the secondary and the second level of being able to, keep those plays in front of you, not getting beat over the top, and be able to put yourself in situations where you can play man-to-man defense and send blitzes off the edges to help the defensive line.
Alex, it's Tuesday, so why not get weird? Keys to a monumental upset. What would it take for South Carolina to go in as 32-point underdogs and, again, pull what would most certainly be the shocker of the 2021 college football season?
You've definitely got to – I think you've got to score a defensive touchdown and go special teams touchdown. I think if you can get, scores from those two units, I think you're in a really good spot to win that game. Also, Luke Doty needs to play.
And ball out.
And play really well.
And ball out. Yeah, I mean, I would agree with both of those. Certainly you have to win the turnover margin, probably like 4 or 5-0. I just do it. Right. That would certainly help. But no, I think a defensive touchdown, special teams, those other facets of the football game, steal the momentum, run the football. I mean, there are keys on keys on keys we could list, but what a win. Like I said, get a little weird on a Tuesday. Why not? For sure.
Do we know what their quarterback situation is?
We don't right now. I think they're probably holding out hope that JT Daniels will be healthy. I mean, would that change your opinion on the game at all? Who starts at quarterback for them?
Not really. Georgia's listen, they put on an all-world defensive performance against Clemson, but they also didn't score.
Right.
So, my question now becomes, all right, we've got, based on just statistics, recruiting rankings, all that fun stuff, which are as valuable as you want to make them, the lines that we have are at least similar in nature in that respect. Now, second level in the secondary, perhaps not. But, at least right there, you got a good idea of like, or at least a game plan sitting there of somebody who was super successful against that Bulldogs offense and, how to stack D linemen, backers, where to attack them from, all that fun stuff. Do we have the skill set to do those same things? We'll find out on Saturday, but I think we've got at least some personnel that can match up there. So, if they come out and try to run the ball and get stuffed with it, does that put us in a more advantageous spot? So it kind of matters because I think JT Daniels is just better than Stetson Bennett. And so you've got, that one example with JT Daniels in there against Clemson where they didn't score. And then you've got them playing Mercer. So I don't know that there's a good read on what that's going to look like either. So, I mean, I think we cover. I'll put it that way.
Good teams win, great teams cover. And Alex McGrath says the Gamecocks this week are a great team. Alex, I can't get you out of here before we got to talk about 2007. I mean, you were on the team that went to Athens and pulled off, that win. What was it? 16-12, I believe, was the final. Corey Boyd with a touchdown in that game. Eric Norwood with a big sack. Jasper Brinkley with the game-sealing interception. And who can forget Lee Corso that morning telling all of college football and everyone watching College Game Day, the Gamecocks just had no chance. I mean, this was a week following. I'll never forget. South Carolina had surrendered 240 yards rushing to Louisiana Lafayette. And so not many were hopeful that the Gamecocks were going to stop Noshawn Moreno and Matthew Stafford. And sure enough, I mean, South Carolina rose to the occasion. Steve Spurrier got his first win as South Carolina head coach over Georgia. And again, I was actually at that game, Alex, and it was so beautiful. You could hear a pin drop leaving Sanford Stadium, except for the rowdy Gamecocks that were walking out of there. But what do you remember? What do you recall from that special night in Athens?
I mean, just mostly, the preparation leading up to it, watching, especially watching all the film, we knew that we could match up with them if we did the stuff that we knew we were capable of. And, Louisiana Lafayette, I would tell you this, especially in regards to the Louisiana Lafayette game, the entire time I was there, anytime we played a lesser opponent, that lesser opponent's probably not fair, not a Power 5 opponent, those games tended to be much, much closer than they should have been realistically. And really throughout that entire era, I mean, how many scares have we had with Navy and
Wofford? I hope we never play Wofford again.
No, just really anybody that runs a triple option.
Right.
But, a lot of those, outside of that Florida Atlanta game in 2006, we're probably closer than they should have been. And I think from a talent standpoint, we knew what we did in 2006. We knew what we had coming back in 2007. So we knew we had talent on that team to go fight against those guys. So I think that mental edge that we had going into it was huge for us going into a spot like Athens where, we've got a lot of talent sitting there on that defense that, you can stop those things. So, it was a special night to go in there and do that. And, fortunately memories I'll always have with me.
Alex, it's been a pleasure. Always a blast. Last thing before I get you out of here, what's more likely? The Gamecocks beat Georgia on Saturday or Alex McGrath breaks 70?
Oh, God. Based on the way I played this weekend, we would beat Georgia. 100% beat Georgia.
I didn't want to say break 80 because I feel like you're a golfer. I think
no, that break 80 wouldn't be an issue. It's a 70 mark.
Yeah,
okay. Wedges were not crisp.
I'm glad I judged your game correctly. Again, I didn't want to give you, I wanted to give you some credit. I'm I think Alex has probably broken 80 before.
Yeah, many times.
Yes,
70,
yes, okay.
70 hasn't happened yet. But listen. I can play this game forever.
Well, I guess
it doesn't betray your knees.
That's indeed. So I guess if you go out and shoot, if you break 70 this weekend, who knows? Maybe hell is frozen over and something weird might happen Saturday night after all.
I mean, if I break 70 this weekend, we are 100% winning the game, and I'll make sure I shoot you a text on that so you can tweet it out.
Alex McGrath, Round Watch is on. The Round Watch is on. We'll be keeping a very close eye on how that round goes on Saturday. But seriously, Alex, appreciate you taking the time, man. Looking forward to a fun one in Athens, and we'll break it all down next week.
Indeed, we will, buddy.
He's Alex McGrath. I'm Chris Wiltz. We appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on another episode of the Spurs Up Show.